Hello, my name is Jonathan, and nuclear weapons have only been used twice throughout history, and during the bombings in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II, approximately 1,000 people were killed. That number just doesn't sit right with me. That is way too high of a number for that many people to be killed for the use of nuclear weapons. And so today I will be explaining you on and persuading you on why we should ban nuclear weapons. You're probably asking yourself, why do you even care? Why does that concern you? Well, you should care, and it does concern you because nuclear weapons have the potential to affect everyone in the world by killing us, wiping us out, wiping out everyone, and there's nothing you can do. You can't hide from it. Like, it's inevitable. If it comes near you, like a bomb explosion, it will hit you. It will hit anybody in its path. It doesn't care who you are. So my three main points today that I'll be discussing are how the use of nuclear weapons have the potential to damage society, the risk factors of using nuclear weapons, and the pros and benefits that we have by banning nuclear weapons. So for my first main point, how the nuclear weapons have the potential to damage society. So first I'll be talking about the environmental consequences. So like I was referring, in World War II, so near the end of World War II, a single 15 kiloton bomb detonated over the center of Hiroshima, and that destroyed everything within a mile radius of the city, and the effects were immediate on the environment, and it was one of the total devastations that was caused. The extreme radiation caused by a nuclear bomb will burn everything in its path, including animals, trees, buildings, people. It doesn't matter, it will destroy everything, all the land and everything. And I'll be talking about the humanitarian consequences that occur of a nuclear explosion or the use of nuclear weapons. So in the article, Nuclear War Could Be Devastating for the US, Even If No One Shoots Back, Joshua M. Pierce, who is an engineer and studied physics and chemistry at Pennsylvania State University, he created a simulation of a nuclear explosion. He was able to create the simulation by gathering data and analysis of the usage of nuclear weapons in the past. So Joshua Pierce states, if 100 nuclear weapons hit China's most populous city, an initial blast would kill more than 30 million people. That kills a higher fraction of the population, and it is even more severe than a pandemic, something that we're experiencing right now, like corona. So a nuclear explosion would be more severe than a pandemic, like coronavirus that's happening right now, that's affecting the whole world. This would destroy China's economy and would almost certainly destabilize their political system. So that would mess up everything if a nuclear explosion or nuclear threat were to happen somewhere. This is just a simulation that he created, but it's really accurate from the way he was able to get in his data and analyze it. Now I'll be talking about, now on to my next point, which is the risk factors. The risk factors of the use of nuclear weapons. So my first one, so what we're risking is nuclear terrorism. So in the article, Nuclear Terrorism, Hype, Risk, and Reality, Rezwan Nazir and Mazarda Amin have stated that the danger of nuclear terrorism has heightened significantly in the recent years, largely because of the transitional terrorist networks and their unrelenting efforts to acquire nuclear technology. So basically, many more terrorist groups are getting their hands on nuclear technology, and they're creating like their own bombs and their own weapons, which is not a good thing. Terrorism on its own is already scary, but terrorizing with the use of nuclear weapons that's a whole different ballgame, because you were able to affect so many more people at one time than you are with, I don't know, just a gun or something like that. And that's just another risk factor we're facing with not banning nuclear weapons. Obviously, if we ban nuclear weapons, it wouldn't stop everybody, but it would be harder for them to get the resources to create their own nuclear weapons. Another thing that we're at risk at is the possibility of a nuclear war. So the last time that we faced a scare like that was in 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of that. But the Soviet, the Cubans, and the United States had enough nuclear power to destroy life on Earth. For us, it was fortunate that they realized the consequences and the devastation that would occur if a nuclear war did happen. So we're really lucky that nothing happened. But for 13 tense days, everybody was scared and in panic that something bad would happen, but luckily they all backed down. But that was still a risk. We risk a nuclear war happening anytime because so many nations have a nuclear arsenal, and it's just a scary thing to think about. Something we shouldn't have to be worried about, but we are, as long as nuclear weapons are still around, and it's just something that we risk. Another risk factor are health risks. People that have been exposed to any nuclear power radiation, and even are lucky enough to live and survive that, suffer long-term health effects. Radiation affects those cells in the human body that actively divide. Resulting health conditions would be like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. They would also experience hair loss of blood cells, and cataracts, which would cloud and ruin their vision. So being exposed to radiation increases the chances of leukemia, cancer, infertility, and birth defects. So basically you don't want to be exposed to radiation, but a lot of people that have been exposed, it wasn't their choice. But that's just another risk factor that we have as long as nuclear weapons aren't banned. So now for my last point. So my last point is the pros and benefits of banning nuclear weapons. So the first one that I have is the amount of money that we save. We actually save a fortune. So referring back to the article, nuclear war would be devastating for the U.S., even if by Joshua Pierce. He states that the White House budget calls for the U.S. $28.9 billion for the Pentagon for nuclear weapons. $28.9 billion is a lot of money. So if we didn't have to worry about upgrading our nuclear arsenal, we could spend that money into something useful, something that we can fix in our country, because we can do a lot with $28.9 billion, and it's just something that blows my mind, that we shouldn't have to be spending that much money on our nuclear arsenal, because that money can go into something a lot more useful, into different resources, fixing our country, and it just doesn't sit well with me. I don't like the amount of money that we're using on that. It's a lot. And that was just for the 2020 year, so that's a lot of money. And another pro of getting rid of nuclear weapons, so it benefits everybody because it takes away a major threat and makes sure that nobody has that much power. And for those of you that don't know, I'm sure everyone knows, last Christmas in 2019, North Korea threatened us with a little Christmas present. They're going to launch a nuclear missile to us. Luckily, they aren't capable of doing that, so we weren't at risk. Everybody took it as a joke because it's North Korea. The U.S. has a bigger arsenal. And even in the article that I was reading, that I did my research on, what you should know about North Korea and the nuclear weapon threats, Sharon Sekwazani states that North Korea is still a few years away from being able to target the U.S. territory. So again, like I said, we don't have to be worried about it. But what if they were capable of that? What if, and when if they can, later on in the years, they're able to have a nuclear arsenal enough to attack us? What then? Or what if a country that is capable of attacking us, like Russia, who has a big nuclear arsenal, decides one day, hey, you know what, let's go to war with the United States and use nuclear weapons? What happens then? A lot of people would be killed. Everybody is at risk. There's nothing you could do about it. And it's just another reason of why we should ban the use of nuclear weapons, because it's a big weapon of mass destruction and can wipe out the whole entire world, and there's nothing you could do about it. There's nothing you could do about it. That's what's really frustrating too. So to conclude, I talked about how the use of nuclear weapons can be damaging to society, the risk factors that we're facing, and also the benefits and pros of banning nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons have the potential to affect everyone in the world. There are very negative consequences for the use of nuclear weapons, consequences that can't be undone. And so as long as nuclear weapons are around, we're at risk every day of our lives. And I hope that this was able to persuade you into agreeing that nuclear weapons should be banned. Thank you, and that's it. Thank you.